And so finally we come to the concept of VUCA. It's a military acronym. It describes the battlefield. Military science is much about planning. It's important to plan out your battles, but General Dwight D. Eisenhower, who later becomes president of the United States, has a great quote, "Planning is essential, plans are worthless." It's because every soldier knows 5 minutes after the bullets start flying, the plan goes out the window. But you need to have done that foresightedness. You need to begin thinking about the future, and then you have to be adaptive very quickly. And that fast agility, especially in the markets we live in today, is an important trait. If you simply say it's in the strat plan, but your whole world has changed, you are a victim of history. And so the military described the battlefield with these 4 words. The battlefield is volatile. The battlefield is filled with uncertainty. The battlefield is complex to the point of chaotic. And the battlefield is filled with ambiguity. As a manager, you should hate every one of those words. As a leader, you should hate all of them and feel nauseous. Because actually, you know the word for management? It's the same Latinate root that turns into hand in Spanish. What's the word for hand in Spanish? Mano. Managers are the people who take the wild stallion by the reins and bring it under control. That's your job as a manager, is to control this circumstance. But it turns out sometimes VUCA is out of control. I gave this talk a couple of years ago, and a man who was about my age, who was general manager of a large Fortune 50 company in their largest division, came up to me in the break and he said, "That describes every day of my life at work. I hate my job." And he says, "But I can't tell anybody about it." Why can't he tell anyone about it? One, it's lonely at the top, but the other reason is you don't want your boss going, "It's a VUCA world out there." And you don't want your boss hear you say it because they'll say, "It's why I hired you." And so he said something really interesting at that moment. He said, "There are times my life is so," and he learns the acronym, "my life is so VUCA, I want to call," and he does this, he says, "I want to call my mommy. But my mommy can't help me with this problem," he said. Most recently, it happened when I was on a corporate board, a fiduciary. I was the oldest member of the board. I'm from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, number 1 or 2 in all the league charts we care about. And a huge 800-pound gorilla came into our niche. We had not expected this. And worse than that, there's some new entrants, some startups that are ankle biting around us that we had not expected. Our management team were great. They were really good people. They were younger than I was. They'd never been in waters like this before. Their world's going very VUCA. And they turned to me in the board meeting and go, "What do we do?" And it was at this moment, I wanted my mommy. I had no idea, but you don't want to say, "I'm from the University of Chicago and I teach strategy and I'm clueless now and really nervous about my investment." So you have to go like, "We'll get through it, guys. Let's keep running scenarios." Here's the reason this is so important. If you've studied the history of battles, almost no battle has ever been fought has been lost on the front line. Battles are lost when the general on the hill, on the high horse, loses confidence and begins to back away. And as the pressure comes off the rear, the people in the front feel it, know they're being abandoned. They turn, they throw their shields down, and they're slaughtered from the rear. Your job as a leader in a VUCA world is not to panic. You may feel nervous. Have any of you read U.S. Grant's memoirs? Some of the best political memoirs you'll ever read, and they weren't ghostwritten, just fabulous prose. He talks about one of the first times he leads troops into battle. He said, "I was physically sick. I was so afraid. But then I remembered who was on the other side of the lines. I'd been at West Point with him. I thought, I bet he's thrown up in the bushes too." He said, "And my job is to lead my troops to win," and he just sucked it up and led. In a VUCA world, there's no point in panicking. Find a way to win. And if you can't win, because there are some unwinnable battles, get your troops out intact as possible and redeploy them the next time. Protect the capital and the asset and your people, because not every battle is winnable. But if you panic, you create panic in your troops.